When the ground starts shaking, you have maybe a few seconds to react. And what you do in those seconds can literally be the difference between life and death. But here's a terrifying thought. What if your deepest, most natural instinct is the absolute worst thing you could possibly do? All right, let's get into it. You're looking at the aftermath. This is the kind of destruction that just shatters communities. But the biggest dangers aren't always the twisted metal and collapsed walls you see here. Sometimes the real enemy is our own panicked reaction to the chaos. So let's set the scene. It's November 21st, 2025, in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Just before 10:40 in the morning, the ground starts to move. And that one moment would end up revealing a massive vulnerability, not just in the buildings, but in people. Now, this quake was a 5.4 magnitude, so pretty moderate. 10 people tragically died, but look at that injury column, more than 600 people. And here's the kicker. Most of those injuries had nothing to do with falling debris. That's right, panic. In just one district, Ghazipur, 400 people were hurt just trying to flee buildings. We're talking students jumping out of windows, workers getting trampled in the rush, people just falling downstairs. It proves a really hard truth. Our instincts during an earthquake are often dead wrong. But that earthquake in 2025, it was more than just a tragedy. It was a warning shot, a tiny rumble from a much, much bigger threat that's basically sleeping right under the surface. Let that sink in for a second. All of that destruction, all that panic was caused by less than 1% of the energy that scientists know is building up in that region's tectonic plates. It was, for all intents and purposes, a tiny preview, a wake-up call for what could really happen. This is the number that keeps seismologists up at night, 8.2. That's the potential magnitude of the real big one for this part of the world. And an earthquake that big isn't just a little stronger. It's a whole different beast. It releases hundreds of times more energy. And look, this isn't just some made-up number for a disaster movie. This is a direct quote from the experts studying these fault lines. They're telling us, flat out, that a megaquake isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So the real question is, are we ready for it? To be ready, we've got to start by unlearning some of the most common and most deadly myths about earthquake safety. These are the things our instincts scream at us to do. Come on, be honest with yourself. The floor is moving, things are fumbling off shelves. What's your first move? Do you bolt for the door? Do you try to find some kind of safe spot? Your answer really matters because the wrong one is a trap. Okay, so the number one killer instinct is to run outside. It's pure fight or flight kicking in. It feels right. But the ground is violently shaking, making it almost impossible to even stand, let alone run. And the single most dangerous place you can be is right outside a building, where windows are exploding and bricks and facades are literally raining down on the sidewalk. All right, so you stay inside. Good call. Now what? For generations, people have been told to stand in a doorway. This piece of advice is so dangerously out of date. That whole doorway myth came from old photos of collapsed mud brick houses where the solid wood doorframe was the only thing left. In any modern home, a doorway is no stronger than the rest of the wall, and it offers zero protection from the real danger, things falling on your head. So if running is wrong and doorways are a total myth, what is the right move? Well, the good news is experts all around the world agree on one simple, proven set of actions. This right here is the survival code. It's not rocket science. It's just 3 easy steps. Drop, cover, and hold on. First, you drop to your hands and knees. This stops the earthquake from knocking you over. Second, you cover your head and neck and get under a strong table or desk. And third, you hold on to that table leg because the whole thing might try to dance away from you. And this is exactly what it looks like. Simple, right? The person is low, they're stable, their head is protected, and they're holding on. This is, without a doubt, the safest way to ride out an earthquake. And the reason this works is just simple physics. Dropping keeps you from falling and getting injured. Covering protects your head and your neck from all the stuff that's going to be flying around. Books, lamps, pieces of the ceiling. Holding on makes sure your cover stays with you. It replaces panic with a plan. Now, surviving those few seconds of shaking is step one. But the real test often begins after the ground is still. We're talking about the hours and days afterward, when power is out and emergency services are totally swamped. That's when your own preparation becomes your lifeline. The experts all say you need a kit that can get you and your family through at least 72 hours. And look, this isn't about being a doomsday prepper. It's just common sense. Water is the big one. Then you need food that won't spoil, a first aid kit, a flashlight, any medicine you need, and a whistle to signal for help. Think of it this way. Your personal emergency kit is one half of the solution. The other half is your community. Just knowing your neighbors, having a plan for who checks on who, that can make a huge difference in the critical hours right after a disaster. And here's one last super important tip. After the shaking stops, new dangers pop up. Broken gas lines can cause massive fires, which are sometimes even more destructive than the quake itself. Every adult in your house needs to know exactly where the utility shutoffs are and how to use them. So it all comes down to this. The earthquake itself might only last for a minute, but your survival is decided by what you know and what you've prepared long before that minute ever arrives. You make the plan now, in the calm, not in the middle of the chaos. So the only question left is, are you ready?